All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening. Let's reset that one. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. Welcome back to another wonderful episode. We are joined today by another past guest, because that's who I always seem to get back on my show, because they are awesome, they are talented, and if you're not reading their stuff, well, that's why they're back on the show, so you can get refreshed on what they've been doing in the past couple of years. But that long segue leads into, of course, we were joined today by Rob Chambers, creator of Meatshield, which is a fantastic comic. I've loved it for years. And I got to ask you, Rob, first off, how are you doing? That's the first question.
I'm doing pretty good, all things considered. I'm talking to you from the Lone Star State.
Yes, Texas. Gotta love it. You'll love the winter from Winnipeg that's coming down your way pretty soon.
Yes.
And secondly, when was the last time you were on the show? Because it's been a while.
I was thinking about that the other day, and I believe, and this is a typical dad thing, is I tend to measure it by what my girls were doing at that time. Okay. And when we were talking, the last time we spoke, which was actually when I co-hosted with you on an interview with Scott Sava.
Oh, yes.
Sava.
Yeah, Sava.
Yeah, and that was roughly about the time my girls had started kindergarten.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they are in 9th grade now. They just started 9th grade this year.
Wow, that's
congratulations.
Yeah,
I kept them alive this long.
I was going to say, it's legal by arsenal and shotguns in Texas, isn't it? Isn't it a constitutional right? We'll skip that one.
I'm like, yeah.
But welcome back. Obviously, it's like I said, always great having you on the show. It has been far too long. But let's catch up here, because you're in California. You're now in Texas.
Yes.
Wonderful. Both are great states. I prefer California because of the film industry and all that. But
right.
But since we talked, you were just starting, I believe, your first book. You had just created your first book, or you were in the process of finishing it. One of the two.
I believe I had just finished it. I just put it up for sale, maybe a couple of weeks before.
Right. And since then, you've done a lot. Tell us what you've been up to.
Well, basically, I've been doing Meatshield pretty consistently. There's been a few weeks of hiatuses here and there, but I've been doing pretty consistently since September 9th, 2009. 9909. There is no way I can forget that anniversary date. But so I've been doing that, and also I've put out 2 books, and like I said, Meatshield is very much a Dungeons and Dragons inspired comic. So a lot of the humor in it kind of springs from references to D&D or stuff like that. The very first book was called The Quest for the Scepter Thingy, not thing, thingy, Thingie. And then that came out. That did pretty well. And then the second book was called Against the Gravel Giants, because there used to be a Dungeons & Dragons module, or a series of modules, called the Against the Giants series. So I just put in Gravel Giants, because they all had categories of giants, like Storm Giants, Stone Giants, Hill Giants. And I just kind of kept going down there. Okay, Gravel Giants. And Gravel Giants are maybe 7 feet tall at the most. They're about the size of your average NBA player. And they're kind of the hillbillies of the giant community. In fact, I believe I have in one of the strips, I actually have one of them wearing overalls rather, with one strap missing. So, but yeah, put those 2 out. Right now, actually, I have a Patreon campaign going for Meatshield, and that's been going for about 1.5 to 2 years. I'd have to do the research to find out, and that's been going pretty good. And one of the things that I've made available on the Patreon page is, if basically it's and I know this sounds sort of horribly hey, this is all the stuff you can buy, but you asked.
I did.
Yeah. If you contribute $1, it's okay, well, thank you very much, and it's very nice of you, and it is very nice of you, and I do appreciate it. But if you contribute $2, you get to see next week's Meatshield 1 week early.
Nice.
Before the rest of humanity. And if you pay $5, you get access to what I call I call it the erroneously titled Meatshield Minute, which is a video where you essentially see me talking and with occasional graphics or whatever about usually D&D related topics. The most recent one I did was when people make characters in D&D, they can usually some people have trouble coming up with like, well, what's this guy's personality? How do I want this guy to act versus how I would act in the real world? And I remember reading an article in Dragon magazine, which used to be the Dungeons & Dragons magazine a long time ago, where someone had suggested using the personalities of like TV or movie characters as a template for you to build off of. So, for example, for like a cleric, which is a priest in D&D, they fight the undead and they heal and all that. Some personalities would be like Hawkeye Pierce from MASH.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Or Dr. McCoy from Star Trek. Or let's see, who else do I have on there? And there basically, if you want to find out more, you can go ahead and contribute $5 a month.
There you go. You see, it's that easy.
It's that easy, and then on up from there after like the $20, which is like the highest one I have. If you contribute consistently for like 4 months, you get to have your own cameo in the strip.
Awesome.
Now, it can either be you, or it can be a character you made up, or if you want like your significant other, or maybe even a sworn enemy that you want to see get killed in the strip, whatever. I'll do it, and I'll work. But I do it while working it into the storyline. I don't just want somebody to jump in and say, and this is how I save the day. It's like, who is that? I don't know. And it doesn't have any effect on the rest of the storyline. I want to kind of blend in organically.
Well, it's great to see. Now, I've always been curious about this because I got into Magic the Gathering like 3 years ago. I was on a film set, ironically, the last film, a feature film I worked on, which is being shown at the Windsor International Film Festival, and I'm segueing, but
that's all right.
But we were all on the set, and we got into like the director and all the actors, and even some of the producers were all into Magic the Gathering, so I kind of dove into that. But I've always wondered about D&D because it seems like it's a more creative outlet for those that just love the fantasy sci-fi realm. But what is D&D to you then?
What is D&D to me?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully a living. Well, but besides that, I've been playing pretty much off and on since about 1979. I'm that old.
So am I.
Yeah, I just hit the big 5-0 this past summer.
Congratulations.
Yeah. It's better than the alternative. But as far as like what D&D means to me, I mean, one of my big artistic influences is Phil Folio.
Of course.
Who right now everybody knows from Girl Genius. But before Girl Genius and Myth Adventures and any of the other stuff he did a comic strip for Dragon magazine.
Nice.
Called What's New with Phil and Dixie. And I remember that, just seeing that art style, just really loving it. So I count him as one of my influences back then. Right now, if I could draw like that, I would. But he puts so much detail into all of his pages. I'm lucky if I can just get my strip done for the week and put enough information in there for people to go, oh, okay, that's what happened next. Okay, moving on. But I mean, some of my best friendships that I've made in my life, I've made through D&D. One of the, in fact, when I was in high school, shows you the level of geek that I am at, was and am. I co-founded, not kidding, not making this up, the Dungeons & Dragons Club at my high school.
Congratulations.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing, though. It was me and 2 other guys. One guy I've kind of been in touch with since then, and he's gone through some issues. The other guy is now the charge d'affaires for the United States to the island of Madagascar. Essentially, he is the closest thing to an ambassador that the United States has in Madagascar. And I'm sure if you go online, you can find, who is he talking about? Oh, him. Yeah. Sorry, Eric. But so D&D can take you anywhere.
Even Madagascar.
even to the State Department in Madagascar. But also like to the people that I had in my wedding party.
Oh wow.
Played D&D with me. In fact, well, like I said, said just a little while ago, right now I'm in Texas. We recently moved out here from California, and I had a long-running campaign going on out there that I DM'd, that I was in charge of, because if I didn't do it, no one else would, because everyone's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But it was me and my wife, Kathy, and my brother-in-law, my sister. And my sister had to be dragged kicking and screaming into playing this, and she only played it really because she knew it was going to make Rob. Yeah, I have a brother-in-law also named Rob. It was going to make Rob happy for her to share in this, and it turns out she ended up really liking it.
Oh, good.
And then some friends and friends of the family and all that playing. But now I've moved to Texas. I don't know a soul out here, and so finding any kind of a group to play with out here is kind of it's a little difficult. But that's one of the nice things about D&D is that it's obviously a creative outlet. Yeah. But two, it's also a way to it's a community that you almost know you have a built-in acceptance to. Because if you show up at a D&D game, everyone there is at least at the same level of geek that you are, if not greater. And you don't have to worry about having to explain the things that you like. You don't have to explain why you love the things you love. They love the same things, or close enough. Like you were mentioning Magic the Gathering. You know, obviously Wizards of the Coast publishes both with Magic the Gathering and D&D.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they are now releasing a I think it's dropping next week.
Something like
if it has not already dropped, a supplement called Guild Masters of Ravnica, and Ravnica is a world in Magic the Gathering. Well, now they have all the source information. If you wanted to play a D&D campaign in Ravnica, you can.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's from what I've seen, it's very detailed.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, they have 25 years of of content that they can easily supplement for any type of campaign, I'm sure. And going back to Phil Folio, who's been on the show twice actually, which I'm still shocked that I was able to get him on thanks to Phil and all that other stuff. Was he drew Magic the Gathering cards as well? And
him and Kaja. Is it Kaya?
Kaja.
Yeah, I always mispronounce it. Dang it.
So did I. But no, it's extremely talented artist, and I'm glad that as fellow geeks, we can always draw in influences and inspirations from the people we admire, and then be it art styles, be it similar, whatever, fandoms and geekdoms and all that other stuff. But going back to the books and all that stuff, going back to yourself here, I mean, Two Geeks Talking has been on the air for 10 years now. You've been doing Meatshield for 9 years. Is what keeps bringing you back?
I'll be perfectly honest. There have been a few occurrences, usually a kind of not so great parts of my life, where I've kind of gone, okay, I just want to close it off. I just want to stop. I want to go do something else. Yeah. But then I'll go, okay, but I've got to finish out this one storyline. Okay, that's only fair. You don't want to leave people hanging. Exactly. So, but the thing is, I'll keep working on it. I'll finish the storyline. Then something will occur to me like, oh, wait a minute. I need to send them on an interdimensional journey. They haven't done that yet. And then all of a sudden, I'm good for another 2 years. So I think it's just human nature to kind of to move on, to want to have to move on and try different things. And right now, I also have something else that I'm developing, which means I haven't done much work on it, but I've got the basic idea for another strip that's more humor oriented, and I want the art style on it to be a little more relaxed than what I currently draw, because I have this tendency when I'm drawing, I will just work at it and add detail, and all of a sudden I've put in too much. I'm like, oh crap, I just ruined it. Go back, undo. Because fortunately I work digitally now. I've been working digitally, I want to say since 2011, around there. I've been using. I used Manga Studio 4, then
Yeah.
Manga Studio 5, and now they call it Clip Paint Studio because they sold it
Right.
to some other company. And it's a great program. A lot of people use it.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about it more than anything else is lettering, because when I was doing this all pen and ink, I hated lettering. I still do hate lettering. I mean, there are folks who just love lettering. Nate Picos is a wonderful letterer.
It's incredible.
But that's not me. I don't get excited over open type ligatures or anything like that. It doesn't do anything for me. So I'm very, very happy and grateful that there are people who like doing that, and that Comic Craft has its annual discount sale on January 1st.
Yep.
Because that's the only way I've been able to afford any of the fonts that I use. But
I mean, we're all starving artists to begin with.
Yeah.
So I mean, we need to do what we can.
Well, I'm not quite starving. I mean, I've got some installation going on here, so maybe I just haven't starved enough yet.
I'm the same way. But yeah, keep going. That's like, all right. Well, character-wise, though, obviously you can't. Well, some creators can keep using the same characters over and over again, but knowing the fantasy world that you live and breathe, from time to time, you obviously are expanding your characters. To include more diverse.
Yeah, I've tried. I've tried to be very. I mean, I hate to say I've tried to be inclusive. That sounds horrible.
No, I wasn't.
But but I think part of it kind of comes from. Well, we'll see. I have two younger sisters. I have my mom.
Mm-hmm.
My dad worked graveyard shifts until I was about 15 years old, so I didn't see him a whole lot during the day.
Oh, wow.
I have two daughters, and I'm obviously married. I've been drowning in a sea of estrogen since I was born, and so the way I look at it is that there is no reason why gender or race or anything else like that should dictate what a character can and cannot do.
Right.
I mean, I've got one of my characters is actually, the name was actually a throwaway name because it was on the town limit sign as they walked into this one town. And it said welcome to Nailmore, population this, whatever, home to caber tossing junior champion Becky Sourbottom. And I just was going to leave it at that. And they were supposed to meet the three characters I had that time were supposed to meet all these dwarves from Clan Punch in the Face. Yeah, I'm creative like that. And they needed a guide to help them find these gravel giants that I had mentioned earlier. And all of a sudden, just something popped into my head, and I just started drawing, and boom, there Becky was. And in her armor and all that, it's like, you're going to need a guide, and you need me. I'm like, okay, I guess Becky's in the strip now. I did not intend, especially that last name. I have gotten more complaints about Becky's last name than anything else that I've done in Meatshield. It's like, really? You didn't this and this and this and this didn't bother you? No, Sourbottom. Why the last name Sourbottom? I'm like, I don't know.
It's a dwarf name. What do you want?
It's a dwarf name, and people say it's like Binwin Bronzebottom. I'm like, no. For one thing, Becky came before Binwin in the comics anyway. Binwin's a character that Scott Kurtz has run as a D&D character for a very long time, but Becky came about slightly before he started doing comics of Binwin. Not that I care. I don't.
It's a sticking point. You got to set your timelines of,
Yeah, exactly. Just in case, it comes to, court. I don't know why. Let's see, I've got, Becky's in there, and she and Chip have she and Chip have this romance going that is pretty much all in Chip's head. Chip he's suffering from what I would call has been suffering now for quite some time, and I haven't touched on it lately, but I should. What I would call just a massive crush that he doesn't feel 100% comfortable about expressing yet, and then she's oblivious to. And there's this one part where there was this one series where they had just got done taking down Chip's evil stepbrother, Dale. Go ahead.
Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, love it.
Yeah, and Dale is like an alchemist, and he really shouldn't have. He was taking over the monastery where Chip grew up, and Dale was like this alchemist he was trying to take over, and finally they kicked him out and imprisoned him. And so Chip's sitting out on this balcony, and Becky comes up behind him and is like, "Are you okay?" He goes, Yeah, I'm okay. I just didn't think I'd ever have to do this, blah, blah, blah. She goes, okay, well, if you ever want to talk about it, he goes, no, no, I'm good, I'm good. And then the last panel, it says, 4 hours later, she wanted to talk to me! Ah! It's like it took that long for it to, like the hamster get back on the wheel inside of his head. And go, oh, crap. Oh, well. But, and then I also have, like, Philo who tries to come across as this vaguely debonair kind of spy kind of guy who is a changeling. He can change his appearance. When he looks normal, he has purple skin, no eyebrows, no hair. Other than that, he looks okay. It's purple. Mm-hmm. And then we also have Brother Leon, who is a very recent addition to the team, which is called the Unnamed Adventuring Company number 47. Unnamed Royal Adventuring Company number 47, because at the end of one of the storylines, they had done something very good for the Kingdom of Westheim. So the king says, like, we're going to give you a royal charter. It's better than money. They so far haven't seen anything from it, but they're on the rolls as Unnamed Royal Adventuring Company number 47, which indicates that there are 46 others. And because they've never bothered to actually give themselves a name, because I can never come up with a name.
Really? Like after all this
time, yeah. Like the Durs dudes or something like that. It's like, well, most of the people in this group are women, or at least that time they were. What were we talking about again? I forget. I'm just like rattling on about the strip.
We were going through recent characters and all that stuff for it, but it's interesting that after 9 years, you're still going on. You're still doing everything like this. And you still can't think of a name. It's like, really? Like,
it's not a big deal, right? In fact, I have it now where it's pretty much part of the lore. That's their name, Urak 47. You're enough of a comics fan to know what a no prize is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When I was a kid, I remember somebody showing me a Marvel no prize that they got in the mail, which of course they didn't open, thank goodness, because it wouldn't be worth anything.
Yeah.
But it's just just the envelope. So I said, you know what? I kind of want to do the same thing. So whenever anybody catches me on a continuity error in the strip, which has happened unfortunately from time to time, I have this JPEG set up. That's basically the official Meatshield no prize, and you are officially for services rendered unto the Unnamed Royal Adventuring Company number 47. Fill in the blank is rights and privileges there too, whatever, and then a picture of Dur at the bottom that says thanks for keeping me honest. So,
classic finger guns, gotta have that.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the no prize thing, because the first time I ever heard about that was from Arvell Jones telling me about how he got a no prize from Stan Lee.
Wow.
Which was
how did he know he got it from Stan Lee?
Because he was working on what was he working on? He was working on a Spider-Man comic. No, not Spider-Man. Iron Fist. He was working on an Iron Fist comic in the 80s. And
who is this again? I'm sorry.
Arvell Jones.
Okay, I'm not familiar. Sorry, Arvell.
That's okay.
You don't know who I am either, so it's cool.
He's a African American artist out of Detroit, Michigan.
Okay.
And anyhow, he's worked with DC, Marvel, all that stuff. Anyhow, I met him back in 2010. Kids Read Comics. In fact, the story is literally on the website, which I got to re-upload. Long story short, he drew a similar thing where, how Spider-Man was fighting Green Goblin in that 2-page fold-out, etc., over New York City, and he did something similar with Iron Fist and some other character, I forget who it was, and he was in the Marvel office there, and Stanley bursts out of his office, and he starts screaming up a storm saying, who did this, and all the artists were like keeping their head down, and Arvell Jones walks up and he goes, I drew that, sir, and he gives this nice explanation as to why he did it, inspiration, blah blah blah, and Stanley goes, you know what, you're doing good, kid, you get a no prize, and he walks back into his office, closes the door, and that was it. But all the artists were in on it, etc. But Arvell tells it a lot better. But long story short, but anyhow, I'm rambling now.
No, that's cool. I'm the king of rambling, unfortunately. So
But
or I feel like I am anyway.
well, we all are. I mean, once we get talking on things that we enjoy, we have to do that. But
Yeah.
Looking in your background, though, I see you have a wonderful bookcase of geekdom.
Oh. yes, I do. Let's see. Well, actually, look back here for a moment here. What else do I have? I have Black Sad, two Black Sad books, which are awesome. I have Mage the Hero Discovered. I didn't like Hero Defined so much, and I have not looked at the current one, like the new. There's like Mage the Hero. Was it Denied? I think it's called.
Something like that. Yeah.
So something like that. It's. I haven't even looked yet, but yeah, I've got a lot of junk up there.
Well, you can see all my stuff on the right, on the left of me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like it's piled up, whatever. The Patreon though is always. I have to redo mine completely, but for Patreon though, it feels like it's a difficult task to say, hey, here's while the comic is free, but if you'd like to help out an actual artist instead of giving me a no prize like a royal exposure that the number 47 is getting.
Yeah, and about how like there are a lot of folks that I wish I could support on Patreon, but it's just the funds aren't there, and it's like there's no animosity. It's just sorry.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, and then also the kind of petty part of me just kind of looks at it. Well, actually, you're recording right now in here, right?
Oh yeah, I'm so
okay. So no, but the petty part of me will just kind of look at how much other people are making on Patreon, especially if it's something like Jeff Jacks of questionable content. I'm like, okay, he's making about $7,000 a month doing this. He'll be fine without my $2. So,
but then there's others as well too. I mean, there's a lot of creators out there that I'd love to support, and the only way I can sort of do it now is if they are doing a Kickstarter campaign,
Yeah, and that's something I've never really delved into, is doing a Kickstarter campaign. It's one thing I've never really gotten a project together that I thought would be worthy of it. Like saying, okay, I want to print up this many copies of the X book, and I mean, what I'm doing, I think I mentioned it earlier. What I'm in the process of putting together right now is a large collection for the third book, as opposed to doing just the third book in the same size of the last two. Okay. Because the last one, each of them had about 100 pages, and it's just kind of going episodically, like this is book one, this is book two, whatever. And I kind of figured, well, there's about 9.5 years, almost 9.5 years of maybe not 9.5. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of comics. And if anybody wanted to just kind of jump into Meatshield, it's really hard to do. So rather than say, okay, well, you need to get book A and book B and book C, and then you'll be caught up, just say, okay, well, buy this one book, and that'll get you caught up to at least halfway in the strip, or however many comics I put in there. And I've been reformatting it to a different size, because the size I've had is I believe I had it 9x6. I had gone off some advice that I had gotten from Wes Molbash. Oh yeah. For some of his books, are around about the same size, and it came out okay. I mean, it went through Lulu.com, and there were a few hiccups to where some friends of mine had ordered a copy of the book, and they said, yeah, it's like there's like an entire section of the book where it goes all the way up to page 32, and then it starts over again at page 1, and then it goes back all the way up to page 32 again, and then we're like page 65 or 66. It's like, well, you're going to have to send that back to the print, because I can't do anything about it. But it's your book. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't print it. You got to return it to them, and fortunately, they were very cool about it. So that's kind of why I wanted to kind of go away from Lulu for a bit, try out Amazon's Create space, and they actually have a chance to like sell these books on Amazon, and changing the dimension of it to where it's like 7x10, so it's almost roughly comic book sized, more or less. Yeah. So. And and so I'm just reformatting the strips, making them all fit in that one confined dimension, which is turning out to be harder than I thought.
Well, I think it's interesting because you look at, well, taking a look at a number of webcomics that have actually ended recently as well too. I don't know if you keep up with that or not, but Shots did a final omnibus of like everything over 15
Yeah,
years.
that's true. She did. She did.
Danielle Corsetto and Alan Evans finished up Rival Angels as well. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he just finished his Kickstarter.
That's a wrestling comic, right?
Yeah, the #1 female wrestling comic for the past 10 years. It's I think the only female.
I was going to say it's probably the only one, but that doesn't mean it wasn't good.
It was very good. It almost feels like the generations, I should say, that when webcomics started and all that stuff are kind of hanging it up. It's like an end of an era. So it's. But with yourself though, I mean, looking at everything you've gone through, and I know we've talked about this earlier in the interview and all that stuff there. Is there anything that you wanted, looking back on what you've done, is there anything that you said, I really should change this, but it's become part of my lexicon that I just can't?
I mean, like within the world of the strip, like something I should have put in and that I put in and said, I probably shouldn't have done that, but it's too late to fix it now.
Something like that, yeah.
And I hate, yeah, sorta. And I hate to say this because she's probably the cutest cast member I have, but there is a puppy. Her name is Vorpal. Vorpal is like this little monster puppy. She looks outwardly cute, but she can actually, it's the term I came up with was chimera hound. Like there's supposed to be like this crossbreed of like a hound and like the chimera, it's something that can change its form to fit its prey. And they're supposed to use, orcs breed them apparently as like hunting dogs, and the crew happened to pawn kind of a puppy out by herself, and Becky, who's my the paladin in the group, has kind of become her mommy. And has taken care of her. And the thing is that I like drawing Vorpal, I like putting her in, but I often forget that she's in the strip. And that's just horrible, I know, because I'm focused on the main characters, the ones that can actually use tools and things. Yeah. But I kind of put it in there because I wanted to have a cute little dog there. My girls had been bothering, at that point, had been bothering me, like, can we get a dog? I'm like, no, we can't have a dog because of the lease. And so I decided to put a dog into the comic strip. And then, of course, like 2 years later, we got our dog. But, yeah, I probably shouldn't have put Vorpal in, not because I dislike her, but more like, well, if I'm going to put the dog in there, it's kind of like being a real pet owner. It's like, if you're going to get the dog, you need to be able to take care of the dog, feed the dog, make sure it's groomed, and get it its shots. And I'm like, I'm real bad about that in the comic strip. I mean, there have been more than a few comics that I've written where they've come back to like the town saying, oh, we finished our adventure, and then they come to this inn that they normally stay at that I usually name the Inn of the Moaning Lungfish. And this one shot is just of the innkeeper standing in front of this ruined inn, like it doesn't have an upper floor anymore, and a very, very fat and snoring Vorpal, because Vorpal in the comic can eat anything. Not just like, oh, it'll eat any food. She can eat anything, like lead, toxic waste, trees, other people. And he just, the innkeeper's just there with his arms crossed, staring at the adventurers going, you owe me an inn. And it was also a convenient way to kind of relieve the characters of all the money they had just earned. Because why make it easy?
Oh, that's great. I love it.
So I think of the things, that I would say, well, I probably should have put that in there. Probably that. It's either that or I should just get better about, quote, taking care of the pet, end quote. The pet that doesn't exist.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, because I saw on your Instagram posts about Vorpal and about how things I
the world according to Vorpal.
Exactly, yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's hilarious. I loved it.
Actually, I kind of took a page out of Dave Kellett's book with that strip, and I actually had a lot of fun drawing them. Like, wow, I should try to be funny more often because lately I'm. Do you know? You've heard of the Cerberus effect, right?
I know of Cerberus. I don't know of the Cerberus effect though.
Dave Sim and all that. And you can Google it and it comes up really fast. The Cerberus effect is essentially where a comic starts out fairly lighthearted or funny and eventually devolves into much more dramatic and tense and dark. Because if you read Cerberus, at the very beginnings of it, he was trying to be really kind of funny, kind of a Conan spoof, and then it got darker and they got into politics and he got into religion, and it's like, oh my god. I mean, it's good work, but it's like it's no longer funny anymore. And I'm trying my best not to fall into that. I'm afraid that I think the best way for me to not fall into that is just make Durr say something stupid, and it kind of just lightens things up right up. And it's not that hard.
Well, it's it's good to see because everyone has to take a crack at comedy once in a while, or in your case, get back to it, and
yeah.
And and keep enjoying it. I hate to say it, but we're wrapping things up pretty quickly. Actually, it's been a great interview. I think. I mean, you can say otherwise, but I thought it was good.
No, it's been fine. It's been fine.
It's been fine. Oh, geez, I got to do better then.
It's been super ultra mega good. A+ #1.
Awesome.
How's
beautiful.
that? Okay.
I'll put that on my. I need a quote for you, so I'll put it on my website there.
Super mega ultra #1 A+ good. with three exclamation points at the end.
Perfect. Where can we find you Rob, on the social medias and all of that other stuff?
Okay.
There?
Well, you can find me on Facebook at it's facebook.com/Meatshield. On Twitter, it's at Meatshield Comic, and on Instagram is also imaginatively enough Meatshield Comic. And I do post the strips regularly up on all three of those, and because it was kind of made clear to me that everybody is pretty much consuming the internet now through most social media, so if I'm not printing these things on the social media, it's not getting onto the internet in a way, so
you're not hitting all your avenues.
I'm not trying to drive people to the website because the website doesn't even have ads on it anymore, so why bother?
Yeah. Well, everything else has ads, so it works out.
Well, yeah.
Just not your own.
Yeah.
Rob, thanks again for coming on the show. I do appreciate it as always, and
we've got to stop waiting like 9 years or something like that
exactly.
in between conversations.
Yeah, we need to connect more often, is what I'm trying to say. So
okay, I got no problem with that. Well, you know me from last time. I am always down for co-hosting duties if you should require it.
I do appreciate the offer, and I will definitely take you up on that for sure. And as with all things must come to an end, and thus they have. And as always, you can find, of course, Rob Chambers' wonderful work on his comic. Like with everything, you, of course, can find Rob Chambers' work at
Meatshield.net.
Of course, you can find Two Geeks Talking at tgtmedia.com, and, of course, twogeekstalking.com, and on the various social medias, usually at Kurt Sasso, KURTSASSO. Other than that, look forward to another great interview with another awesome person. So thanks again, Rob, for coming on the show, and thanks everyone else for listening, watching, and viewing. Make sure you like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. I'm still updating the website as well, so when posts get up there, they'll get up there. Other than that, have a great night, everyone.